Okay, welcome back, people. I've just got to adjust my camera because my old webcam has been playing up and it actually died just before, and I've changed over quickly to my other one. So it's here now, and we're working fine. Let me re-aim a bit, that's better. Okay, so today we are doing our final brand new learning in our workbooks. After this, we'll be revising for a test that will be done during the time we're back at school at the end of term 2. So let's go to the page in the textbook. Here it is. Let's put myself back in the corner there so you can see me, so you don't feel lonely. Okay, so we've actually done this bit in our workbooks back in school on page 20, and this was looking at how we can build chords on the notes of a C major scale. You can see we've got a C major scale here, with the exception that it's not finishing on C. And we learned about this quite early in term 1 when we began doing our jazz improvisation unit, so we could learn what the chords were. So a reminder, how do we build chords? Chords are either, and let me now click on the right screen, now you can see what I'm talking about. Chords are line, line, line if they start on a line note, or they are space, space, space if they start on a space note. Now, I gave you brand new books to take home at the end of the term, so this should be an empty question for you, even though we did it in class. Morning, Ubi, I can see you've arrived, so I'll pop you down in the roll as being present. Good to see you. And let's carry on. So how do we do this? If it was line, we went line, line, line. And space, 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 space. Line, line, line. And space, space, space. And last but not least, line, line, line. So I'm assuming your answer was empty in your new workbook you took home as well. So please, as we've just done here, please add the notes in now, just as I've written in. Sorry about the vocal accompaniment in the background there. The dogs are pretty talkative this morning. Obviously someone walking along the footpath out the front of the house. And my dogs, being protective animals, are letting me know that there are people out the front. I'm sure it's all fine. So, I think you've probably, hopefully, had enough time to work that out. We also learned that each of these chords has a particular quality, either minor or major. So major triads are the ones that sound happy. And let's play that. And then minor triads are the one that sounds sad. In other words, I like to say happy llama, sad llama. So what do we say this chord was? This was a C chord. Is it major or minor? Happy. C major. Next chord. It has a more of a sad sound. Here's the major version. There's our one. So that is D minor. Next one. E. It's definitely minor as well. Next one. Da, da, da. I'll just play the opposite to compare it. Ooh. So the one we had was definitely major, so F major. Next one. Major as well. Next one. Ooh, let's compare it to the other one. It's definitely minor. And last but not least, oh, that's that odd one that sounds a bit different. It's not minor, nor is it major. That's the one that's called diminished. Now, we're not going to worry about the theory behind diminished chords this year, but just rest assured that that is a diminished chord. Sounds a little bit different from minor again. We also learned during our jazz improvisation course that we can apply Roman numerals to each of these based on their number in the scale. So, the first chord gets a 1 in Roman numerals, but we do an uppercase 1 because that indicates major. The second chord is minor, so we give it a lowercase Roman numeral 2. Let's follow the pattern on. So the third note, or third chord of this scale is minor, lowercase. Chord number 4 is major, uppercase. Chord 5 is major, uppercase. And chord 6, if whoever's just put that comment in, they could be a bit specific. Do you mean the last chord or the last words? There's this chord is the 6th chord, it's minor, and then finally chord 7. Yep. So in answer to the question, yep, that is dim. So dim means diminished. So it's just shortening for diminished. I said my handwriting's so bad I could have almost been a doctor. But anyway, you know what they say. Okay, today we're just going to focus on 3 chords. These are actually the 3 chords that we learned also for our jazz improvisation. So when we looked at the 12-bar blues, we learned that the 12-bar blues was just a pattern that followed chord 1, that used chords 1, 4, and 5. Now we call these the primary triads, and the reason that they are called the primary triads is because they actually contain all of the notes of the scale, and from there you can harmonize any note of the scale, similarly to like you can use any of the primary colors to make any of the other secondary colors. So you notice in a C major scale, is there a C? Yep, there's a C in chord 1. Is there a D? Yes, in chord 2. Is there an E? Yes, in chord 1. Is there an F? Yes, in chord 4. Is there a G? Yes, in chord 5 and 1. Is there an A? Absolutely, in chord 4. Is there a B? Yes, in chord 5. So you can actually use just these 3 chords to harmonize any note of the major scale. So they're the primary triads. 1, 4, and 5. Goes without saying these are the secondary triads. So in your test you will be asked to write out the primary triads of the keys that we have learned. Now we're just working in C major, F major, and G major. So just remind me, in C major, and I'm still in that, what's the key signature of C major? Does it have any sharps or flats? It's got no sharps or flats. Good. Okay, so yeah, I like colour. There we go. F major. Oops, that was terrible. Let's try again. F major. Remind me, what does F major need to make it sound correct? No. The B needs to be flat. And last but not least, our scale of G major. What does it need to sound correct? Ooh, didn't sound right. And we hopefully remember by now that it needs an F sharp. So, thought I'd give you those as some hints. Let's work through some questions today. Again, this is all about learning the skill. We'll revise it shortly. So it's not like you'll never do these independently. It's just it's a new skill that we're going to do now. Let's evaluate this set of chords here. So we've got chord 1, 4, and 5. In which key? How do we know what key we're in? Well, it does say up here, so yes, you can read. But if that wasn't written there, you'd know this was in C major, because in chord 1, the bottom note of that chord is C. We can always double check up against the little chart we made. Chord 1, yes, it looks like the chord 1 we had. Chord 4 looks like the chord we have. Chord 5, yeah, it's all accurate, isn't it? They are matched down here. But how did we work it out? Well, we know that chord 1 begins on C and C major. We worked out that chord 4 is F. Why? Because it is 4 notes up. Now, when I'm working out one of these questions, I actually find it really handy just to pencil in the middle notes. So if that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how I work out where chord 4 should be if I'm having to think it through literally. I obviously can just do it off the top of my head because I've been a musician since I was in prep in 1983. But if I was to work it out sort of academically, explain it to someone who's not done it before, that's the way I think about it. If I want to know what chord 4 is from chord 1, you can just write the notes in brackets or whatever, so they're out of the way. And there you go. And then chord 4 to 5 is just one step up. So we know that that root note there goes up a step to be the root note of G. Cool? Maybe that was confusing. What I'm going to do is demo it now in the next question so you can see my thought process. So 1, 4, 5. That's what we're asked to write. You'll be asked to write something similar in your test. There's no exams, of course, this year. Not this year, I lie. This semester. You'll do exams in semester 2, of course. But for the test that I'll set us when we're back at school, it'll always be asking you 1, 4, and 5 in either F major or G major. So it'll be one of these two. So not too many options. We're in F major. First things first, chord 1 in F major begins on F. So you need to find F. Hopefully you'll know your notes by now. You've been practicing your note reading skills. And you know what we can do? We know that we need to add the triad notes. So space, space, bass. So, what's chord 4 in F major? Now you might find it's really easy just to count up the alphabet. So you go F as 1, so G would be 2, A would be 3, so B would be 4. Great, most of you can do it. Or you could actually just, as I mentioned before, pen in the notes. So F is 1, there is 2, there is 3, and that wasn't very good. Oops, try again. 2, 3, and 4. And that was, I'm really having trouble getting it written on this small stave today. Now, by doing that, going 1, 2, 3, just put that in brackets. I don't even care if you do that in the test, that's fine. I'm not going to mark you down for having that in there. And 4, we know that's chord 4. And then one note higher than 4 is 5. So B up to C. Once you've done that, it's a case of put the notes in above the Roman numerals. Now, one thing, have we done everything right yet? What did they ask for? Well, we know F major needs B flat. So, should I be putting a B flat here next to this note? Maybe. Maybe not. This question has asked for a key signature, so that's where you put the flat at the start. Cool. Now, you've probably noticed that there's Roman numerals here, but I've also used Arabic numerals here. If you didn't know that, that's what they're called. The numerals we use in English, in Western society, are called Arabic numerals. The reason why I've used Arabic numerals is we use Arabic numerals for numbering individual notes. We use Roman numerals for numbering chords. So chords get Roman numerals. Individual notes, like in a melody, get Arabic numerals. There you go, a little bit of history about our numeral and number system, if you weren't aware. Cool. So we got one more question here. Using accidentals. So if they ask for accidentals, they're not saying make a mistake. What they're saying is you need to put the sharp or flat in amongst the notes. So using accidentals as required, instead of a key signature, write the 3 primary triads of G major. So, like before, we need to firstly work out where's G. Good. Hopefully you're not having to use your rhymes anymore, but if you are, there's no shame in it, that's fine. Okay, so that's where G is. Let's build the chord on it. So it's a line note. So line, line, line. Like so. What did I do next? To make it easy, just count up the notes, even write them in. So if we're starting on G, G is chord 1, so A is 2, B is 3, therefore 4 is one note higher, C. 4 to 5 we know is by step, so the next note up is D. What's left? Well, we haven't written triads for all of them yet. Triad, as we mentioned, is not a gang member from Hong Kong. A triad is a chord of 3 notes. And we need to go line, 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 but we've run out of lines. What do? We BYO line. We add a ledger line. And there you go. Almost done. What have I missed out? Using accidentals instead of a key signature. Write the 3 primary triads of G major. What does G major need? G major needs F sharp. So we need to go through and work out, are there any Fs in this? I can tell you there are. Where are they? Let's have a look at these notes. So triad 1 is G, B, D. No, all good. Chord 4, C, E, G. Nope. Chord 5, D, F, A, R. So we need an F sharp there. Cool. I'm going to sit back for a moment and give you a chance to catch up and write that in, because I know I went pretty fast there. If I've gone really too fast, these videos are always up ready to be watched after the lesson, so you can go back and re-watch. But I want to give you just a few moments to get that down in your books, because this is some important stuff you'll want for your revision when we do a test in class once we're back at school. Some of you are wondering, how are we going to be working out who passes and fails? I'm not trying to do this to threaten you, but it's more of an encouragement. A significant part of what we've been instructed to look at is your engagement with the work that we're setting. So if you've missed some work in the past, not a silly idea to maybe go back and have a go at it if you have time. And most importantly, in the next 3 weeks, try as much as possible to be on the ball with getting stuff uploaded. And if that's the case, then you should find that you are absolutely fine. Students who've done nothing, on the other hand, might be in a little bit of trouble. So I'm personally encouraging you for my subject, if you get a chance, to go back and do some more music theory.net links if you haven't done them. If there's any other stuff we haven't done, like uploaded a jazz improvisation, do that. That'll be great. And of course there's some work from our books that if you've not finished it, jump back in, watch the videos again. Most of the videos give you the answers. It's not hard. If you've given the answer, just to fill it in, photograph your work, and then upload it when you get a chance. So, yeah. Hey, Mustafa, good to see you've arrived. I'll mark you present on the roll. I think I've given you enough time to catch up on your notes there. So let's move on to the next page of our work. We're almost done, and then you can have time to do any of that catch-up work. So, we've just learned about the primary triads. Today we are going to listen to them. So, in the test, you will get a question like this. Here is an example. You'll be given a grid, and there are spaces for 4 chords. Now, Deborah Smith loves her solfa, and I don't knock solfa, I think it's great, but I don't think we need to worry about this line for the moment. I think thinking in numbers is perfectly fine. What we're going to do in a minute is I'm going to play you a question. I'm going to play you 4 chords, and they're going to start on chord 1. Your job will be to listen then carefully to pick which are the remaining chords. Now, I'm not going to just throw you in and have a go at this question without explaining things in detail. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't do that. What I will do, though, is explain to you how they sound on the piano keyboard. So, here are those 3 chords. First things first, you'll notice is in my left hand, not that you can really see my hands on the camera at the moment, I'm always playing the name of the chord. So if it's a C chord, I've always got a C in the bass. When I jump up to chord 4 or F, then F is in the bass. And then finally, if I go up to chord 5, then the bass note becomes G. So I'll always be playing either the first, 4th, or 5th note of the scale in my left hand. And then my right hand is where I fill out the triads to give them their lovely harmonious sound. Now, because chord 1 is always 1, the Roman numeral 1, that'll be the first chord you always hear. So if you hear that chord return, it's pretty obvious. Like if I was to go, you'd be able to hear that the last chord I played was the same as the first chord, and therefore if this was the question we were going to practice, you'd put a 1 in there. This is just sort of discussion at the moment. We'll do a proper question in a minute. As for the other ones, they are both higher, above chord 1 at this stage. And so the way you work it out is, well, chord 1 to 4 jumps up. How much by? 1 to 4. Australians, all let us rejoice. Up by a 4th, or perfect 4th. And then chord 5 is just a step higher. So when you're working with those 2 chords, chord 4 and 5, it's basically a case of deciding, is it the lower or the higher of the 2? 4, 5, 4, 5, because 1 stands out enough on its own. It's a good distance away from the other 2 chords. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a go at this question now with you. Your job is to... Oh, thanks for the round of applause, by the way, Jay. I'm going to play you some chords, including chord 1. And your job is to, using Roman numerals 1, 4 and 5, have a listen and see if you can work out the chords I'm playing. This one's actually easier to teach in a classroom, believe it or not, with a sort of more of an interactive activity. But we're not in the classroom, so we'll do it this way, but I can always go back to it when we are in the classroom in a few weeks' time. So, here we go. I'm going to play you a little chord progression. Let's have a listen to it. I'll play it to you a few times. Here we go. Most of you may have heard the Roman numerals in your mind. As you sort of heard it, you would have imagined the Roman numerals in your mind. I'll play it again. Let's listen to it a bit more closely. I'm hoping that you heard that this first and last chord were the same. So we can actually put the Roman numeral 1 in right now. That was a bit messy. Let's try it again. That's better. What we need to do now is listen to these others. We know they were definitely different. They weren't a repeat of 1. So the question we need to ask is, was it 4 up to 5? Or was it 5 down to 4? Are our options. Let's have another listen. The chords went. Are they moving up or down in pitch? They moved up, so therefore we must have been going from chord 4 to chord 5. Cool. Okay. So we're going to have a go at one more question today. And then what we'll do is we'll jump back into Zoom, and if any of you need further support in joining Soundtrap, I'll actually throw the link back in for that, into our lesson plan. And I'd love for us to spend time getting Soundtrap working before you go off today to your other activities of the day, because tomorrow's lesson will be focused around exploring Soundtrap. So anyway, I've talked enough. Hopefully we are ready for the final question. Now you'll notice we're changing into G major, but that means absolutely nothing to you for this question. You do not need to worry about what key we're in. Instead of being, I'm going to be going in G major, but the pattern still stays the same. The first chord will be the tonic or chord 1. Chord 4 will jump up by 4 notes, and chord 5 will be just a step higher. Chord 1, chord 4, chord 5. In fact, we use Roman numerals a lot in music because they are handy in terms of changing keys. If you know the pattern is like 1, 2, 4, 6, 1, and you want to play it in G major rather than A major, because your singer wants it a bit lower, then thinking in Roman numerals is really handy in that way. We're still starting on chord 1, which is there. I'm now going to play you another question with that chord included. Please respond into your workbooks with chords 1, 4 or 5 as appropriate. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll play that again. 2, 3, 4. You might be wondering what these two are, but I'm hoping you heard that the middle one, chord 3, was returning back to chord 1. I'm hoping you heard that these two were other than 1 and that they were different too. So again, our next question is we need to work out which of these two were higher. If it was a higher one here and a lower one there, then it would be 5 to 4. If it was a lower one there followed by a higher one there, it would be 4 to 5. Let's have another listen. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully you've got an idea about what it was. I'll just play them separately now. Here's chord 2. And here's the 4th chord. Ah, they moved up. So we were definitely going chord 1 to 4, 1 to 5. That was a bit dodgy, I'll fix that up. That's better. 1 to 5. The other thing you could have done to work it out is use your interval knowledge. Sorry. Da da, Australians, all let us rejoice. It went up by a 4th from chord 1 to 2. And then chord 3 and 4 were... Da da, twinkle twinkle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is how you could get your answer. Excellent. Well, today's lesson's a relatively short YouTube live. What I want to do is jump back into Zoom now and seek support from me on how to get Soundtrap set up. You'll need to log in. I'll give you a code to join our class, and for the rest of the lesson you are welcome to have a bit of a play around with Soundtrap so you're familiar with it for tomorrow's class. So I'm going to sign off from the live stream now, and I'll see you back in Zoom shortly.